Welcome to the Vault Studios Fantasy Football Podcast, your one-stop shop for all fantasy football info. Here are your hosts.
Welcome to the Vault Studio Fantasy Football Podcast, and we have made it to week 3. I'm your host, Lewis Culver. I'm joined, as always, by Corey out there in Perth. How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's week 3. It's week 3 already. Hopefully everyone started out 2-0. Chance of that happening probably not very good, but yeah, definitely. It's been an interesting first couple weeks.
Yeah, it really has. And I think a lot of people had victories turned into losses or losses turned into victories with Aaron Jones's insane Monday Night Football performance. Or, maybe they got Derrick Henry'd on Sunday. There was a few monstrous performances in week 2. I actually saw one roster posted, and the guy went up against Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and Cooper Kupp in the same lineup. I was just like, just quit. Forget about it. There's nothing you can do at that point. Just unrivaled dominance in that particular matchup.
Definitely. And some people had the opposite of that as well. So, some teams were scraping to get to 100 points in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, there was some rough performances from typically, players you can rely on. Even Tyreek Hill had a bust game in a high scoring affair against the Ravens. So there's a few instances like that, but nonetheless, we move on to week 3, and as with last week, we're going to be reviewing quickly, taking the key takeaways from every matchup in week 2 and turning that into a little bit of actionable information for you moving forward into week 3 and potentially beyond. But before we dive into that, there's a little bit of injury news we need to take care of. First of all, if you play running back for the San Francisco 49ers, you might have the most dangerous job in all of America because seemingly they just cannot stay fit. Now, JaMychal Hasty's gone down, joining Raheem Mostert, joining Jeff Wilson, joining who else? Trey Sermon's got a concussion. It's a mess. Trenton Cannon's been signed. They brought in Jacques Patrick from FSU, got to represent the Florida State running back there, who had some success in the XFL last season. It's really thin. But if you blew your fab wad in week 2, or used your waiver wire position on Elijah Mitchell, you're in luck because seemingly he is going to be the lead back moving forward and seems like he's going to be healthy as well. Corey, did you get any shares of Elijah Mitchell?
I did, and I immediately traded him for Jamal Williams. So
great move. I love that.
Yeah, I think, and I had to spend a pretty penny on him. So, but at the end of the day, I just think I just upgraded slightly, even if it's a little bit. I don't have to worry about, I know that Swift's there. I know that going in. And it was just kind of a move where I wanted the for sure asset, I guess, going forward.
Yeah, I don't hate that move at all. I was in one dynasty league and I was furious because I'm quite needy at running back, even though I've got a very strong team elsewhere. And I put in a bid well over half of my fab and just got pipped to the post. And the guy who picked him up then immediately traded him for 2 future second-round picks. So nice. I was pretty pissed that my fab bid didn't get him, but that's a great piece of strategy. If you're in a dynasty league and you're able to turn fab into future picks just from one waiver wire transaction, that's absolutely a move that we support here on the Vault Studio because the picks are worth considerably more. Jarvis Landry has gone to IR, which means he's going to miss at least 3 games. We think at this point, given the nature of the injury, it's an MCL sprain. It's probably only going to be 3 weeks. We also know that Jarvis Landry is a gamer. He's only missed 1 game in his career, which was due to contact tracing last year for COVID. He's never missed a game for injury. He's tough as they come. If he can go, he will be out there. But in the meantime, it looks like OBJ could be ready to go in week 3. And then we also have the likes of Anthony Schwartz, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, Austin Hooper. Is there anyone outside of Odell Beckham in this Browns receiving group that you're interested in playing in the absence of Jarvis Landry?
Playing? No, I guess. Felton looked like an interesting guy last week.
Kind of a bit of a do-it-all Swiss Army knife kind of guy.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the receivers only had 7 targets last game. if OBJ is playing, he's going to get peppered with work. So I guess it's kind of a buy low moment for OBJ. I know that his value probably bounced a little bit with this news, but at the same time, it's not anywhere near where it was, 2 years ago. So I think you're still getting value here for OBJ. So if you can get him, I'm not saying go crazy, but if you can get him for a value still, I would do that.
Yeah, I would certainly do that. Baker Mayfield has looked mostly pretty good this season. There was the errant throw, and then he went full on Jason Street and injured his shoulder trying to tackle the defensive back who picked him off. but outside of that, Baker's looked pretty good. So we would expect him to open up with Odell pretty quickly. The Bears defense is pretty good. I think they're somewhere in between where they looked in week 1 and week 2.
League average, somewhere around
league average. So I'm not too concerned about starting him in that matchup either if he is indeed good to go. And then in week 4, the Browns have got the Vikings again. Not a matchup that terrifies you from a defensive perspective. So a few good games ahead for Odell Beckham, and if he is in fact named active or declared active for week 3 and beyond. Was there anyone else? I mean, obviously we've had the score of quarterback injuries. We now know Davis Mills is going to start Thursday Night Football in place of Tyrod Taylor, who's out with a significant hamstring injury for a few weeks. Unfortunately, we've got Ty God, it's all over. We've got Andy Dalton banged up. Matt Nagy non-committal over whether Justin Fields is going to start. I think honestly, and I think Andy Dalton will have to die before Matt Nagy won't put him on the field. There's going to be some real weekend at Bernie shit, and he's going to be propping up Andy Dalton to try and get him out there because the promise he made to him in the offseason that he would be the starting quarterback for the 2021 season. Justin Fields obviously didn't look great. He had some flashes, but he's obviously taken no reps the week before, hasn't been involved. The game plan hasn't been built around him. I like Justin Fields as a low end QB1, high end QB2 play in week 3 if in fact he does get the start, because he's got some weapons, but it's the mobility. The mobility gives you everything for rushing quarterbacks, unless they're throwing multiple touchdowns a game, and Fields has that in spades.
I guess the biggest, most important injury as far as the quarterbacks go is Tua and both Wentz as well. I hate all the Colts options this week if Wentz is and his both of his sprained ankles can't be out there.
How do you sprain both ankles?
I have no idea.
Carson Wentz is such a it's unbelievable. He's legitimately one of the best athletes in the world, right? You don't become a mobile quarterback, starting quarterback in the NFL without being a top 1% athlete in the world, but somehow he's still comically able to injure himself at all times. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And obviously, the Tua injury as well doesn't look great, but they said, the x-rays were negative somehow, got carted off. So Jacoby Brissett's out there.
Jacoby Brissett sucks.
He's bad.
He's so bad. And he just offers you nothing because he doesn't even have a little bit of mobility. He's got Ben Roethlisberger level mobility now.
Yeah, he's like Byron Leftwich out there.
Just can't move. Yeah, but he's got a huge arm, and the only person I think that potentially helps this week is Will Fuller coming back. And, maybe get lucky in a deep league and he connects with Will Fuller on a bomb. And I think Will Fuller will help the offense. I think it'll help Jalen Waddle underneath. But I'm seriously concerned about starting any Miami pass catcher without Tua there. And even if Tua plays, he could be limited. They said that what they do with him will be a measure of functionality and pain tolerance. They'll put a flak jack on him. They'll give him injection. But the ribs, trying to throw, taking hits, he's probably going to play quite tentative as well. It's just a bit of a mess right now for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, definitely. Avoiding if I can.
Yeah, I actually do like Zach Pascal this week though. I think Jacoby Brissett can at least lock in on one target, and I think it's probably going to
You
be
mean Jacob Eason?
Jacob Eason. Sorry, I got stuck on the old Colts backup quarterback Jacoby Brissett. Yes, I think Jacob Eason can lock in on Zach Pascal. Got a very soft matchup against the Tennessee Titans, who, you know, their defense is absolutely terrible. Let's just take a look here at Football Outsiders DVOA, which is one of my favorite metrics. Past DVOA, we can sort here by rankings, and they're ranked 30th in pass DVOA. The Titans are not a good defense. By the way, folks, listeners, Football Outsiders has now made their DVO metrics free again. They put them behind a paywall last year.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, this year you just have to have a free account set up, and you can access all of their DVOA rankings, offensive, defensive, sorting, and they truly are one of the best measures of defensive and offensive efficiency. And you can really pass through the noisy data and see which teams have more difficult matchups. I really enjoy their metrics. So good news for fantasy football players, because it's very helpful, and also gambling as well. You can really use that to your advantage. Corey, eyes wide up, yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Anyway, let's get into these matchups from the past week. The first one was obviously the Washington football team versus New York Giants. What was your takeaway from that game?
Okay, two. I know we're only supposed to do one, but I do have to say something. Daniel Jones was objectively bad in the first half. He was not good, but he was really, really good in the second half. I was impressed with what Daniel Jones was able to do. And of course, the timing. I jumped on the NFL Australia Twitter Spaces for the halftime hangout, and I was able to speak and give my opinion. Of course, I spent my allocated 30 seconds trashing Daniel Jones, and my man comes out after the second half and just lights it up, looking like a white version of Lamar Jackson. Just yeah, okay. And the Washington football team's defense isn't as good as we thought it would be, but Daniel Jones played well, and they really should have won that game. It was Jason Garrett's shitty play calling, clock management, and then they got lucky getting bailed out on the field goal at the end there. So I thought Daniel Jones played well. More on that later. But my takeaway was Saquon Barkley saw an increased workload again. I think he's getting up to full speed. The offensive line isn't great, specifically in terms of run blocking. But we said after week one, you can't bench him because he has the propensity to pull out a big play. And we saw that. We saw that huge run. If it wasn't Chase Young, who is an absolute genetic freak chasing him down, Saquon houses that. And we're talking about something completely different. Potentially, Saquon Barkley in full health houses that as well. But that's the kind of plays that you get out of Saquon Barkley. And the volume is being added there. And I'm very, very confident in week 3 against the Atlanta Falcons in a very, very soft matchup. Against the Falcons, who ranked 27th in rush DVOA and have given up a truckload of fantasy points to the running back position. That the Saquon is gonna be just fine. And in week 3, you should start him in full confidence. He's got 10 days to prepare as well. He's going to continue to be rehabbing and building up his explosiveness, and they're going to be working on their run blocking with the offensive line. Hopefully they can pull that a bit together, and certainly they're not going to be disrupted by the Atlanta Falcons, who have got a pretty much non-existent pass rush as well. So better days ahead for Saquon, and I'm excited I'll be more than happy to play him in week 3.
All right. As for me, my one takeaway is I'm not going to take a victory. I'm not going to take a victory lap.
Lap it, right? Lap it, baby.
Because I love J.D. McKissick as much as anyone that listens to this.
The only person who loves J.D. McKissick more is his mother. That's it.
But I hope you didn't blow all your fab on him, because while this was I guess a slap in the face to Gibson owners, it was also a usage thing, and it was their hurry up offense, and he was in there, and that was just the case. That's where he got all his work, and basically that was it. So if there's a silver lining to this, Gibson owners, as much as you're very dreadful to deal with on Twitter, The silver lining is that McKissick was used just in that package, and he just was lucked out on the situations there. But I do think that it might put a thought in Washington's mind, like, look, this guy produced last year. Look what he did with just this limited work. Can we mix him in a little bit more somewhere?
Oh, no doubt. They like JD McKissick. I think he's locked up the 2-minute work. I think when they get in that situation, they're going to go to JD McKissick because, I think they think he's the better pass catcher. He had the nice deep route that he ran, brought that in. That was sweet.
The best thing about that is that just everyone on Twitter just goes,
just
absolutely was a receiver in college?
Just melted down. Yeah, it is what it is. But I think McKissick has standalone value. I thought Taylor Heineke looked good as well. I think he made some real big time throws, especially after throwing that absolutely terrible interception. And I will say they ran the ball quite well. And on a different day, Gibson gets in for a touchdown as well. Now, I'm supposed to have one takeaway. We there's a lot of takeaways.
Way too long on the Giants and
Washington. I know. Let's move on now to the Steelers in Las Vegas. What's your takeaway from this game?
For this game, I look, as much as you don't like him, they missed Jacobs. Like, their run game was non-existent. Derek Carr put the team on his shoulders and kind of just, rolled up the Steelers in this one. Not much you're going to get from Kenyon Drake and Peyton Barber. I guess that's a thing. So, you're not adding if I have Drake, you have to hold him, I guess, but he didn't look particularly good in this game, and you're definitely not adding Peyton Barber. So, might be worth just taking a shot at the Jacobs owner and seeing what he wants for him.
Yeah, look, Jacobs is a better runner of the football than Kenyon Drake, no doubt. But he can juke around all he wants. The reality is that the Raiders' offensive line is dead last in ESPN run block win rate. They just can't run block. And that's going to limit Jacobs. And I think Derek Carr has been so good that he is carrying this offense. And I don't think getting Jacobs back makes the offense a whole lot better, given what we know about the replaceability of running backs. And their production is predominantly based off of offensive line play and opposing defensive fronts, with the exception of the absolute most elite running backs. Is he a better runner than Kenyon Drake? Absolutely. Is he more elusive? Yes. Is he more likely to get that one play that moves the chains? Completely. But Drake is there in the passing down situations. But overall, I just can't trust Josh Jacobs week to week. And
but I can. I can.
Sure,
so let's
you can. All right. You listen to Corey. Let's see it. My takeaway from this game is that hold tight with Chase Claypool. Better days are ahead, because the usage has been there, the production hasn't, but he's having 7 targets per game. He's 4th in the NFL in air yards. 4th. We've seen a lot of players take a lot of air yards this year. Now, no doubt, Big Ben is pretty much dust. He looks terrible. But eventually, some of these passes are going to connect. And I think they're going to want to manufacture some more touches for Claypool that we haven't really seen the way that they did last year, getting maybe some carries, some sweeps or end arounds. And they've been close to linking up on the sideline. This week, he gets a juicy matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. If you've been playing Claypool, don't panic. Keep him in your lineup this week unless you really have an absolute lock of a better option, because the targets have been there, the air yards have been there, the connection will come, particularly against the Bengals, who can't rush the passer. Big Ben's going to have time back there, and the cornerbacks aren't much to write home about either.
Right, and Deontay's rolling around on the ground every other play, so there's that too.
He's been hanging around with Big Ben way too much. He knows. He's like, hey, Big Ben, let me get a taste of that walking boot. Let me get a taste of that walking boot, Big Ben.
Oh, man. All right. We're going to go with the Eagles and 49ers. What was your takeaway from that game?
My takeaway is that Jalen Hurts had one of the stone worst passing days he could imagine. Barely completed 50% of his passes, 190 yards, no touchdowns, and he was still the quarterback 10 on the week. That's the kind of rushing floor and upside that we can get from Jalen Hurts. Jalen Reagor, our guy, was a bee's dick away from strolling in for a monstrous touchdown, which changes his day. It changes Hurts' day. Didn't they have a touchdown call back as well? They had a touchdown call back I
Yeah,
think
if you watch that game, you watch the first half, and you're like, how are the Eagles?
how they,
Have no point, barely any points. Like you're just like yelling at the TV because they got the field goal blocked on that Rieger touchdown that came back. It's
it
just
was it
just
was a
brutal.
comedy of errors, but they were able to move the ball well. And yeah, I mean, Hurts will have better days as a passer. He will also have days similar to this. That's just how it is. He's not the most consistent. He's developing, but even when he has bad days, he still finishes as a quarterback one in fantasy with 20 points. Like he didn't tank you. Whereas your more mobile guys, if the day doesn't work out for them, that can tank your week. For example, Joe Burrow had a nightmare and not the most
Yep.
mobile guy compared to Hurts, and it really tanked your week if you played Joe Burrow in week 2.
Yeah, my takeaway was Jimmy G was not good in this game. Like I understand, like he ended up on the stat sheet. Like if you just look at the box scores, like it's worth if you got Game Pass, just watch like the 40-minute, cut
Mm-hmm.
scenes to the game. Like there's no huddles. You just get to watch all the plays. Like it's definitely worth it. He was not good in this game, and it might be time to speculatively add Trey Lance in redraft. So if he wasn't drafted, if he's just sitting on the waiver wire, it might be worth taking a look at it if you can spare the roster spot. It might be a little bit early for that, but no time like the present.
I agree. I was listening to a few fantasy podcasts this morning. I think it might have been on this particular bit from JJ Zacharyason's late round pod, but it seemed like he mentioned that Jimmy Garoppolo's got the second lowest deep ball rate in the NFL. They're just not pushing the ball downfield. It's all intermediate, short area stuff, which becomes very predictable. I know they don't have a huge deep threat, and a lot of their receivers are yards after catch type guys, but still, Trey Lance has got a much better deep ball, much bigger arm than Jimmy Garoppolo. Whether he's able to get up to speed with the offense remains to be seen. But if he can, and we've heard reports that he's very intelligent, will be able to get a grip to the playbook sooner rather than later. What he adds to the running game, what he adds with his arm strength, should take this offense to a whole new level. And hopefully we can get Brandon Ayuk involved, because what the hell is going on out there with Brandon Ayuk? It makes me sick.
I don't know. I think he got Dante Pettis.
No, stop it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. We're moving on to the next game. I'm not letting you speak this into existence. We have the Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans, and the Texans continuing to show they've got some fight. They got a little bit of pluck about them. They're not going to go down and be a laughingstock of the NFL. The ownership might want the first overall pick, but everyone on that roster is playing for pride, playing for victories.
Are they going to do a movie like 10 years from now called, I don't know, the National Football League, like Major League, and just have the Texans and the owners like wants to move the team?
Perfect.
I think they should do that. The Ty God injury really hurts, but I'm still playing Cooks. He got 50% target shares in this game, so I don't know why you wouldn't be playing Cooks. Like he's just been absolute gem so far. So especially where you got him in draft. So keep playing Cooks even in this matchup against the Panthers.
100% agree with that. My takeaway, very quickly, Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry things. Naturally, after the week we both said we'd be looking to move him on. Just outrageous. But also he saw a career high in targets. Of course he did. He had an extra 12 points coming from receiving work, which he never gets. Just
never.
Unbelievable, right? He had a good day, like a really good day, and then that receiving work made it a great day, a slate winning day. So congrats, Derrick Henry. Obviously still a great running back. If this usage continues, my concerns about him are completely alleviated, because it's always been about negative game scripts, involvement in the passing game, the Titans playing from behind, their defense stinks. But if that continues, you go, oh, okay, then you could sell Derrick Henry for $1 million right now. So it is still something I would explore doing, potentially getting 2 great pieces back for Derrick Henry. I don't know what that trade might look like, but maybe looking at some buy lows and see how we go. But my number one takeaway from this is just do not panic on AJ Brown and play him in week 3. The usage is there, 17 targets through 2 games. He had a couple of drops, but I'm not concerned about AJ Brown. He's still he's still an elite wide receiver, and his big game is right around the corner.
All right. Well, I'm not concerned. Jacksonville, Denver. I'm concerned about Jacksonville. Segue.
Urban Meyer is concerned about Jacksonville.
Cortland Sutton had a game though, and that was very interesting because
number one wide receiver graded by PFF this week. He was an absolute beast.
And Teddy Bridgewater is just chucking the ball around like he's leading the league in 20+ yard completions. Like what's happening?
This doesn't confirm my priors. What's going on?
So anyway, like Tim Patrick got in the end zone. I think that's kind of what he is. But if anyone had question marks about Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick, I think that's well and truly answered by now. So
wait, people had questions like who would it be?
I think they did. Like I think people were like kind of, I don't know if Cortland Sutton's back fully because of that week 1 game. I think he only had 1 catch for like 14 yards or something. But that any speculation about that can fully go out the window now.
Congratulations if you bought low on Cortland Sutton. I actually picked up and played Tim Patrick in one league. Worked out for me. He got in the end zone. But I guess kind of fluky. I think he only had 4 receptions or 4 targets or something like that. So
that's the way he is. He's like a Jacoby Myers light.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers light. I don't mind that. I in deeper leagues I'll still be looking to play Tim Patrick, but Cortland Sutton lock and loaded. Top 15 wide receiver week to week with Jerry Jeudy out, and he could be out for a little while. Old Jerry Jeudy, unfortunately. For me, the nice thing to see the usage between James Robinson and Carlos Hyde started to go the right way. James Robinson had a lot more carries, a lot more snaps, more targets. The workload was a little bit closer in week 1, almost identical in terms of actual touches. Weighted opportunity went James Robinson's way, and that gap grew even wider in week 2. And I think as the season goes on, Robinson will be used more in the passing game, especially with Laviska Shenault banged up, who's not having a great start to the season. So really the weapons on the offense, Marvin Jones, wide receiver 1, DJ Chark. I think James Robinson is going to end up fulfilling on his ADP as well, assuming he's able to stay healthy.
I just want to go back because we made a mistake. So I was just going to clarify it. You talked about Derrick Henry during the Texans game, but they played Seattle. So, but that's all right. I don't think you.
Did I? I wrote the Of course they did.
But we just in the show notes, it's not there. So Tennessee, Seattle's not there. That's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes, a little behind the scenes stuff there. It's fun.
Okay, so let's on the fly circle back to that game. Was there anything from the Seattle side of the ball you wanted to take away from, other than Tyler Lockett is an absolute grown-ass man?
He is, and I guess the worry for DK, I don't think you should worry too much yet. I think it will kind of come back, but I think Lockett is. I think they're 1A, 1B type deal, and Lockett has just got that extra time with Russell Wilson, that extra rapport.
Yeah.
And just kind of trust them, I think, a little bit more in those situations. I think he's just more open.
Yeah, I think DK probably gets a bit more attention considering where he lines up on the formation as well. But they're seeing similar usage, similar volume, and it's just the touchdowns that are going Tyler Lockett's way at the moment. His touchdown rate is unsustainable. I'm not sure how long it's going to go for. Like you think maybe, but it's great to see. Long may it continue. But DK will get his. Just stay calm. Don't do anything rash. But if you were listening to us during the offseason, we were telling you Tyler Lockett was the wide receiver to draft at their ADPs because of the meld he has with Russell Wilson. It's constantly undervalued. And then we get into the season and was like, holy shit, Tyler Lockett's good. And then everyone proceeds to forget about that come draft time next season. All right. So Cleveland Texans game. Yeah, we talked about Brandon Cooks in the Texans game.
Carolina, New Orleans.
Yes. We've fixed up that little snafu.
Yep. And for the Saints, I don't think you can start any Saints wide receiver right now. And the slipper is truly off Callaway. He's unplayable. And if you can find a better option on the waiver wire, I know a lot of people play in 10-team leagues. Not everyone plays in the super 32-team leagues like you, Lewis. But
not everyone hates themselves like I do.
You can find a better option on the waiver wire. I'm happy to drop Callaway at this point. There's nothing I can see, especially with Thomas eventually coming back as well. Like, that's probably the only Saints wide receiver I want on my roster right now.
Yeah, in the IR spot. For me, for me, the takeaway from this game is just to buy Robert Woods. His usage was much more reassuring in week 2 than week 1. His targets doubled. I'm reading from the wrong. I'm all over the place with my notes. However, I meant to say buy low on Robbie, buy low on Bobby Trees. That's coming up next. Let me circle back to the right game. Buying low on Robbie Anderson, whose targets doubled from week 1 to week 2. DJ Moore is the clear-cut number 1. There were some questions at the start of the season whether with that new contract.
Why was that a question? I was so confused by why that was a question.
Because Robbie Anderson saw a ton of usage, and then they gave him a new contract and things like that. But we remained resolute that DJ Moore was the number 1. We like Robbie Anderson, we liked him, but DJ Moore was always going to be the one. And Robbie Anderson, I think you can confidently buy low. And this offense looks good. Sam Darnold is looking like the goods. They haven't trailed yet, and they've still put up points. They haven't had to dip into the neutral game script situation. So I think Robbie Anderson, better days ahead for him. Don't panic on that, and you should start him with confidence going into week 3 for the Panthers there. And who are the Panthers playing again in week 3?
Texans.
The Texans, of course. Great matchup. Great matchup for any of those pass catchers. So starting with confidence. Make sure you get him in your wide receiver spot. It is Thursday Night Football. Get him out of your flex. Promote him to the wide receiver 1 spot. Get him in there. So
next.
Now we can come on to the Colts Rams game. Thank you. I'm going to hide these other lines so I don't confuse myself again. No. All right.
Now you're gonna talk Bobby Trees, so you talk Bobby Trees first.
Let me talk Bobby Trees because Cup, and rightly so, has got all the plaudits. He's the wide receiver 1 in fact. He's just an absolute monster right now. He's been balling out, looks fantastic. Him and Robert Woods have got almost identical usage, routes, targets. Robert Woods, his snap share increased from 75% to 98% in week 2. This is a great offense. Kupp's usage is unsustainable in terms of the touchdowns. I still think he's probably going to finish as a top 8 wide receiver on the year. No qualms about that. He clearly has a connection with Matt Stafford. But Robert Woods' involvement is going to increase, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see him have a big blow-up game as well. So don't worry about playing Robert Woods in week 3. Do so with confidence. We've seen his usage trend in the right direction. I feel very good about Bobby Trees moving forward.
And just a speculative look at Van Jefferson. He's playing tons of snaps currently. And, Lewis does love Bobby Trees, but if Bobby Trees or Cooper Kupp, find themselves on the bench just because they're banged up or whatever, Van Jefferson is right there with those guys in snaps and things like that. So it's just a watch, really. There's some league formats that you can put a little flag by the player to watch. I would definitely watch him because I don't think he's owned very much in many leagues, especially your redraft. He's not. So just keep a speculative lookout for him as the coming weeks. So because I really think this offense is in its infancy. I think Stafford didn't play any games in the preseason. They're still working out like how they're gonna, move the ball and work through some things. So I think Van Jefferson's someone that you can keep an eye on for now.
Yeah, and just in terms of this matchup, Rams in week 3 going against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, A, hell of a matchup. Look forward to watching that. It's going to be a great game. But B, Tampa Bay isn't the same shutdown defense it was last year in terms of the passing game. You can throw on Tampa Bay this year. Their run defense is stout. They grade 5th in run DVOA, but 14th, sort of middle of the pack in pass defense, and they will score points on you as well. There's going to be it's going to be shootout city, I think, this season. So don't be afraid when you see Tampa Bay in the in the little matchup segment of when you're setting your lineup, because you can throw on Tampa Bay. Certainly, don't be starting. Don't be confident about starting your running backs against this defense, because up front they're just monsters. But pass catchers, be confident. You should be fine. And who was the cornerback that they lost season-ending injury? They lost someone, and they're looking at bringing Richard Sherman in, who's been unsigned for quite some time. So can't remember his name, but they've suffered a blow to their secondary. So feel confident starting Cup, confident starting Woods, and playing Matthew Stafford. All right, Dolphins, Buffalo. What a beatdown.
Gross. Zach Moss showed life. He got in the end zone twice. Not much else. Devin Singletary scored in this game as well.
Yeah.
But Zach Moss is kind of the guy that I wanted in the offseason, and probably the guy that I'll just stash for now. And I'm getting worried. I'm not the biggest Josh Allen fan, you didn't know, but
really,
I'm worried, man. I'm worried for the Josh Allen owners out there. It's been fine, but it's not been where everyone kind of drafted him. So, like, if I have Lamar Jackson, I'm a lot happier than having Josh Allen right now. One more week, if he has another subpar game against Washington, I want to start panicking a little bit. So, what are your thoughts on Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it's the QB 18 on the season right now, which is not good. Dak Prescott there is the QB 17. So 2 highly drafted quarterbacks that have not lived up to expectation so far. I think they were able to run the ball so easily on Miami. There was just no need for Allen to do a whole lot. I think Washington should be a bit more of a competitive game. They're still throwing the ball at a high rate, but certainly his accuracy has regressed back towards his career average, his yards per attempt, his air yards, all of those, his touchdown rate, all of those things. But we are looking at just a 2-game sample as well. I still think there's plenty of time for Allen to get back up there into the top 5, top 8 of quarterbacks. But it is worth keeping an eye on, cause for concern. Potentially, if you can move him on to someone who needs a quarterback and you can get someone back in return that is gonna bridge the gap, then I would certainly consider doing so. But it's not quite panic stations yet, but the early signs aren't super convincing.
All right, tell me about your Miami pass catchers here.
I mean, we told you can't really start any of them except like Will Fuller and Waddle in the absolute deepest of leagues, like 14, 16 team leagues where you're desperate, or leagues where you're starting 12, 13 skill position players. Like, how can you trust Jacoby Brissett other than maybe Fuller gets connected on a bomb, or Waddle gets a quick catch and houses, or they design a screen for him or something like that. But
yeah, no, we're not playing any Dolphins right now. Other than like the running backs, Gaskin.
Yeah, play Gaskin. That's about it. All right, let's move on. New York Jets against the Patriots. This was a beatdown. We enjoyed this one as Patriots fans. Zach Wilson had a nightmare.
Did we? I mean, it was on. I watched it. I was like, yeah.
I mean,
we beat the Jets. Yeah,
it's always good to see the Jets flounder. Especially because there's been a lot of talk about them becoming a real NFL franchise. It's like,
that's not happening this year.
You're still XFL level.
Michael Carter is someone that if he's not owned, especially in redraft, I think he's worth a grab. He looked elusive in this game. He's definitely in a timeshare with Ty Johnson. Tevin Coleman took a step back this week, but things could change rapidly there. I think obviously the Jets drafted him in the 4th round. Right now, I think he looks like a person who's definitely worth adding if you can. I have an article coming out later that he's on my buy list for Dynasty as well. If you can grab him for a cheaper kind of discount, because I think he was probably the fourth running back taken in rookie drafts.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype about him. Obviously, I think his value has dropped since then. So I don't hate it. I think for the rest of this season, at least, given the issues that the Jets have had protecting Zach Wilson, the usage is going to come down to who can pass block the best and help.
Yeah, that's not going to be them.
And herein lies the problem, right? So the offensive line has got to get a lot better, and the offense has got to get better before I'm starting any Jets running back. But having said that, when we get into like week 6, week 7, and all of these injuries keep piling up, then yeah, you're probably going to be forced into playing some of these guys, throwing the bye weeks in there, and all of a sudden, Michael Carter as a flex play might start to look a little bit interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we had the Bears against Cincinnati, and the Bears got a good win here. The Bengals were poor. The Chicago Bears defense stepped up. What was your big takeaway?
I got a buy low on Allen Robinson. He was out-snapped and out-targeted in this game, but surely we'll see, Fields soon enough, you would think. And Robinson just missed another touchdown in this game as well. It was a tougher catch, but you kind of expect that from your whatever was he making that $20 million receiver?
$20 million, your franchise tagged wide receiver. Yeah, you
right.
do.
So, but I think he's a little bit of a buy low right now because I think obviously as a fantasy owner you're not thrilled with the Allen Robinson production so far.
No, you're not. It feels like Allen Robinson, though, is eternally a buy low because people just undervalue his production. Yeah. He's not on a sexy team. Hopefully Justin Fields starts. My takeaway from this is just Matt Nagy is a clown. He's a straight-up clown. The fact that Allen Robinson isn't always leading the team in snaps and targets is an outrage, although I do like Darnell Mooney. And the fact that after the game, he's non-committal to Justin Fields when it's clear that Andy Dalton's just been mangled up and is going to be even less mobile than he usually is. Now, don't get me wrong. There wasn't much to like about Justin Fields, but
you have to go through those. Yeah, you have to go through those growing pains anyway.
Sure. And also, I don't know if we talked about this at the top of the show or maybe just before we were recording, but either way, Justin Fields would have taken barely any starters reps, if any, during practice. The game plan was not tailored for him. Give them a week, put things in place for Fields, let him get reps with the first team, let him get on the same page, let him understand the protections, all of those kind of things. And you go, okay, maybe Justin Fields has got a shot and he will be better for this offense because Dalton hasn't pushed the ball downfield. He's not mobile. What are you doing, Bears? Like, you're 1-1. You're not a playoff team. So just play Justin Fields. Yeah. Trade Andy Dalton to the Colts.
I don't want to talk about Andy Dalton anymore.
All right, moving on. And we're moving on.
Tampa Bay, Atlanta. Start all your Buccaneers, basically. Forever and always. All the receivers.
That's my takeaway. Start them all. Antonio Brown busted this week, but he'll be back next week. Like, this is fantasy football. You will have some guys that have up and down weeks, but Tampa Bay is throwing the ball. They're throwing touchdowns. Tom Brady looks incredible. Play Gronk every week. If you got him as your tight end 1, congratulations. If you got him as your tight end 2, congratulations even more because what a value. Mike Evans, big bounce back spot, as we told you would happen. Chris Godwin got in the end zone. There'll be better days ahead for AB like we saw in week 1. Just hold the line, play the pass catches.
Interesting note, I picked up Cordarrelle Patterson in a couple places. Looks like the Falcons are just all in on CP right now. They're just like, we're going to design the offense totally around you.
The offensive weapon. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you love to see it. They need to get a spark from somewhere. CP
it only took 10 years for him to get that role.
Can do that. Remember, he was. I loved when he was on the Patriots. Such a great kick returner. I remember, I can't remember who we were playing. It might have been the Buffalo Bills. And it was around Halloween in 2018, I think.
It would have been around.
And he was the starting running back because everyone was hurt. And I was so excited. I've watched it on some shitty TV in a tiny hotel in LA. I was like, yes, Cordarrelle Patterson running back for the Patriots. It was so good. What a weapon.
So, just keep that note. I think it's very interesting. I think if you're ranking, not a big ranker guy, but there would be very close, Mike Davis and him in the rankings this week. So
no doubt about that. Arizona against the Minnesota Vikings. What was your big takeaway from this game?
Man, I think KJ Osborne's going to be a thing. I think because
Looks
of the
like
lack of tight end, like they didn't have Rudolph there. I mean, they do have a tight end in Conklin, but they're not really throwing it to him. They're running a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. And KJ Osborne looks like an actual guy that you need to make sure you keep aware of if you're not adding him and just stashing him on the bench for now. I do think he's probably usable once bye weeks come through. So we'll see if he can continue this until that point. But I think KJ Osborne is someone that you can definitely have as a bench stash for now.
Yeah, and certainly don't be looking necessarily at his yardage and touchdowns every week, but just keep an eye on his snap share, his route participation. And as you said, those bye week comes along, or if Thielen or Jefferson get banged up, then he is very much in play. Thielen's been great this season, had another good game this week. He just got that mind meld again with Kirk Cousins, who is dealing. Kirk Cousins is dealing at the moment. You love to see it. My takeaway from this game is play Rondale Moore. Freak athlete, can turn nothing into a lot, not something. He can manufacture things into everything, pure electricity. His involvement massively increased from week 1 to week 2. He's taking plays away from Christian Kirk. And then he's playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is just an absolute smash spot. Bottom 3 defensive DVOA in terms of pass defense. Start him up, fire Rondale Moore up in week 3. If he's on your waivers, he should have been picked up in this week's waiver room. But if somehow Rondale Moore is a free agent, make sure you go and get him. Make sure you go and get Rondale Moore and get him into your starting lineups, because this offense is electric. It's one of the best in the league. They run one of the highest pace of plays. They play 3 wide receivers pretty much more than anyone. This is an offense you want a part of. Kyler Murray's dealing. Rondale Moore is electric. And stories coming out now that Kyler Murray was sending cut-ups to Steve Kine during the. I was like, okay, like it's a fun story, but clearly Kyler Murray likes him, and they do have a bit of a connection as well. So he's going to be the wide receiver 2 very, very quickly, because even though he scored a touchdown, AJ is definitely on the downside of his career, and Christian Kirk is good, but Rondale Moore is just something different.
For sure. This Chargers-Dallas game.
Such a fucking letdown, man. This game could have been electric.
Yeah, a lot of penalties, so many touchdowns taken away. There's a lot of interesting calls by the refs. But if you have Pollard right now, it would feel nice, but I just don't know when you start him. And
I'm playing him.
Okay, you're playing him.
Flex.
So.
He's a flex. Like this is a
full-on committee. Are we there?
I don't think it's a full-on committee, but it's like a 65-35, and I think Pollard has more involvement in the passing game, which are those high leverage, high volume touches. High value touches. Zeke is still going to get the run between the tackles. He's going to get the goal line carries, etc.
Yeah.
But again, I think it was JJ Zacharyson. No, it was Matthew Berry. It was the Fantasy Focus show that likened it to the Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams split in Green Bay under Mike McCarthy, where Aaron Jones was getting the majority of the carries, but Jamal Williams was very much playable on a week-to-week basis in the flex. And if he gets a touchdown, that's gravy for you in that week. And I think that's sort of how it's looking. The difference is Zeke's costing them like $30 million against the cap next year, and Tony Pollard's getting paid like $8.
What was your takeaway from the Chargers receivers?
Mike Williams is the truth, baby. You got to play him every single week. He is being used in optimal situations. They're designing plays specifically for him. He's no longer being used just as a 9-route guy. He's running the full route tree, playing that big X receiver role. He's leading the team in target share. Keenan Allen, still love him. Keep going with Keenan Allen, who's yet to score a touchdown as well. That's going to change. Keenan Allen's got some positive touchdown regression coming his way. But Mike Williams is going to be turning out to be one of the best discounts in fantasy this year. Love Mike Williams. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because that's been a knock on him for his whole career since coming into the NFL. But really, great pedigree coming in, showed lots of talent, and now he's got a quarterback who's got time to throw, and an offensive coordinator who wants to use him in a creative way. So wheels up for Mike Williams.
All right, in Baltimore, Kansas City, my takeaway from this game is that Tyson Williams is the only back I'm keeping on my roster right now.
Correct.
Everyone else is droppable for me. Even Latavius Murray, I know he got into the end zone, but you can't rely on that week to week. Tyson Williams actually looked better in this game. He actually didn't just grab the ball from Lamar every time, which
He's learning. He's
he's learning.
improving. I completely agree with your sentiment. Tyson Williams is the guy. He's the running back I want to have. I'm not dropping Latavius Murray only because if something happens to Tyson, it's next man up, and Latavius Murray is going to step into a big workload. Devontae Freeman had a nice run, but that's going to last 2 weeks before his legs start to crumble again.
Latavius looks slow.
Yeah,
he's fine. It's just kind of plodding.
But I just wouldn't drop him. Like he's just going to sit there unless I'm in like a super shallow bench league. But I'm happy to just keep him there. He's not going to sniff my starting lineup unless something happens to Tyson or things get really, really desperate in bye weeks and injuries. But completely agree. Tyson Williams is the guy. Hope you got him off waivers because he's gonna score some fantasy points this year for sure.
All right, quickly try to sell me on this CH crap.
It's not crap. He's not going to be like all of a sudden. I know. But he's not going to end up being like the running back one or even like a high-end running back one or anything like that. It's just right now, what he was drafted for was his pass catching attributes, set SEC records, and the Kansas City Chiefs have got the stone lowest rate of targets to the running back position at the moment. It's historically low going back to 2014, according to JJ Zacharyson. They're targeted running back position just 8% of the time. Not only that, Edwards-Helaire back in August suffered an ankle injury. It was an ankle sprain or a high ankle sprain, but they said the timetable was going to be a few weeks till he was back to full health. So he might still be getting some confidence back in that ankle. Running the ball is not going to be a priority to this offense ever. Their defense absolutely stinks. So Edwards-Helaire fantasy value is going to come through the air. And I just think typically what we've seen with Andy Reid and what we've seen with the Chiefs in the last couple of years, their running backs will be involved a bit more moving forward. Mecole Hardman's starting to carve out some snaps and targets, but it's still the Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce show. There's just a few more targets to go around, and I think Helaire ends up grabbing some of those. Targets are a girl's best friend in fantasy football. They're worth 2.74 times the value of a carry, and he's got a great matchup against the LA Chargers, who've been soft against running backs so far this season. I think better days are ahead for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Potentially a bit of a buy low if someone's frustrated with like the 8 points you've got out of him this year. So, yeah, I'm not like pounding the table to be like, this guy's necessarily a league winner, but I do think better days are ahead. Hold on to him if you drafted him unless someone comes and makes you a very good offer, which is unlikely. And let's move on to the final game, Monday Night Football, Packers, Lions. Corey, final takeaway. Let's wrap this up.
If it's not Devontae or Jones and possibly Tanyan, that's it for fantasy options on the Green Bay Packers. Done and dusted.
Yeah, man. AJ Dillon, stone dead. You can't play him.
Do not waste your time or roster space on any of these guys. All these secondary receivers. Yep, no, I don't have any time for them.
I agree. I thought Dillon, right, we've got a great matchup against the Lions. They're going to put a bunch of points on them. They're going to run the ball, salt out the clock. And Dillon had like 5 touches or something, like just no fantasy value while Aaron Jones is healthy. I don't think he's droppable because if Aaron Jones gets injured, as he's inclined to do from time to time, even just a 1 week fill-in, you've got low-end running back 1, high-end running back 2 potential just off of usage and offensive output. But Aaron Jones is very much the guy and had a league-winning performance on Monday Night Football. That was my takeaway from this game. I completely agree with you. So that's it for the wrap-ups and sort of the look forward to week 3. Let's quickly do our quarterback streaming, tight end streaming, and get on out of here. I am sad to announce that Corey won both matchups this week. Convincingly in the quarterback column, I went with Jameis Winston at the Panthers, netted me a measly 10.2 fantasy points. Corey went with Tyrod at Cleveland, and despite him playing one half of football, still got him 16.5 fantasy points. He was the winner there. I went with Gerald Everett against the Titans. Ran lots of routes, played lots of snaps, just didn't get any targets. 1 catch for 3 yards, so 1.3 fantasy points. Corey didn't fare much better, but still came away with the win with a monstrous 3.5 points from Tyler Conklin against the Cardinals. So I think better days ahead for both of us in terms of our matchups and what we got. But Corey gets the double win this week. For week 3, my quarterback matchup is going to be Danny Dimes, Danny Dollar at Atlanta. We've told you how bad the Atlanta defense is. We've told you Daniel Jones is the white Lamar Jackson. He's running the football. They've got designed runs. He's looked better. I don't expect this honeymoon.
Maybe.
And I don't expect this to continue necessarily. But I think he's got a great matchup this week, and I think he's in a good spot to post another top 10 finish. Who have you got this week, Corey?
I got Teddy versus the Jets. Teddy Bridgewater, who's been very good so far this year against this Jets defense, which looked better against the Patriots, but Teddy Bridgewater is a professional quarterback that's seen a lot of things in his life, so I feel like he can tear this defense.
Where's he been to war? Teddy's seen some shit. Teddy's been to Nam. He saw some shit.
Definitely, I got Teddy in this one.
I like that call. Tight ends. It is gross out there, especially doing the 50% cutoff. It is really, really gross. But I'm going with the guy tied to Daniel Jones. He's coming back from an injury, expected to play in week 3. I hope he plays, otherwise it's going to net me a big fat 0. But it's Evan Ingram against the Falcons. The talent is there. He is a receiver lining up at the tight end position. The Falcons have given up a bunch of 3 touchdowns in 2 games against the tight end. They're an exploitable matchup. So, yeah, give me Evan Ingram against the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going for safety and points here with Blake Jarwin against the Eagles. He's had 3 catches each of the last 2 games.
That could be enough to win this.
It might be. Just going safety and numbers. So I'm taking Blake Jarwin against the Eagles.
Nice. I like it. I think that's everything, man. We're coming up to the hour mark. Again, we managed to get through all of the games. We're doing well. I think as we get the bye weeks come in and we have a bit more time, we'll look to get some other segments in the show, but we like to keep it tight, like to try and keep it around the hour mark. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we get on out of here?
No, once again, if there's something that you want us to add or want to talk about, just let us know.
We'd love to hear feedback.
Our mentions are always open, so just give us a shout out and we'll definitely take it into account.
No doubt. Make sure you follow the Vault Studio on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those good places. Just search the Vault Studio Podcast Network. You'll be able to find them. Subscribe. If you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating and review. Helps other people find the podcast. You also get access to all the other awesome shows, the NFL show, College Football Down Under Boys, who are just churning out great content every single week. So be sure to get into all of the shows in the Vault Studio rotation, the Vault Studio family, as it were. Thank you to Burnley Brewing, who are the sponsor of the Vault Studio Podcast Network. Shout out to them. Corey, have you got your beers from JA
yet?
Where's
my package? No. Where's our package?
A week ago, we saw him box it up. It's not arrived. Having said that, it's probably doing a fucking 6-week quarantine at the WA border. McGowan's like, no packages.
That's probably true.
So you'll get your
I'll
beer.
Get half of it. I'll get half of it. Be like,
you'll get your beer eventually. And then finally, vaultstudio.com patreon.com/the Vault Studio. Sign up to our Patreon, support the podcast. It's a couple of bucks a month. For the higher tier, you can get in the monthly Patreon draw where we're giving away signed merchandise, helmets, jerseys, and boxes of Burnley beer that actually gets mailed to you, unlike poor Corey, who's sat there thirsty in Perth, waiting for his beers. But it really does go a long way to supporting the studio, and you have a really good chance of getting some sweet merchandise, which Jay has been hoarding. There's lots of signed mini helmets, jerseys, you name it, we've got it. And as the number of patrons increases, the number of prizes each month gets given away. So your odds always stay there or thereabouts with a chance to win. That's a monthly break that JA takes care of. But for now, I was Lewis. That's Corey. We're going to get on out of here. But everyone, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.